Well, my name is Andrew Duffy. I introduced myself a little bit earlier. I'm from Microsoft. I'm a local developer evangelist. That means I help build the local user group and developer community throughout Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and D.C. I am local. I'm actually out of Leesburg, just up the road here a piece. I'm available if you have any questions about Windows Phone 7 development. Also, if you're interested in doing any Bing Maps API stuff, I've done a fair amount of that. You can find me by the Windows Phone on my sleeve. Very easy to find me. So what I want to show you here briefly is just an example of using PhoneGap and the PubNub API to do some simple chat from mobile to web. So if you aren't familiar with PhoneGap, you can go to GitHub/PhoneGap. They have a PhoneGap Windows Phone 7 zip now. You go and grab the zip file here and take it on over to your project templates. So Visual Studio 2010 templates, project templates, drop that zip file in there. Then all you have to do is go in and do a file new project for PhoneGap or Gap application. I'm not going to walk through the whole creating a new one, but I'm going to show you where to find it in case you need it. And you do new project. And then under C#, you'll find the Gap App Starter. So I've got a completed one, so we're going to skip that for right now. But basically what I've got is I've used Microsoft Web Matrix to do a web version of this, which is just a real simple UI. I've just got a couple of, I've got an input box and a div, and I'm calling some of the PubNub APIs. I'm not going to walk deeply into these, but these are really a simple way of doing near real-time communication here. So I've basically got a subscribe channel, and I've got a bind that's binding my enter key so that when I hit the enter key, it sends a message out to the cloud. If we take a look at the web end of this, I've got it running in both Firefox and in IE. So if I say I from Firefox, it's going to go out to the cloud and send it to my other client and say I from IE. And then in PhoneGap, what I've got is, get some of this stuff out of my way here. Basically, I've got a PhoneGap application. It shells out a Silverlight for Windows Phone project with a web browser control. And so you've got some content that's sitting here in this www folder. You've got your HTML, you've got your CSS, and your JavaScript, all pretty straightforward. I've also added in locally here the PubNub.js file. I would suggest if you are working with JavaScript libraries, in the case of non-connectivity, if you're pointing to a JavaScript library out on the web and for whatever reason your phone can't connect, your application's kind of dead in the water. So this can hedge your bets so you've got the JavaScript local. You do need to make sure that it shows up in this gap source dictionary.xml. Pretty easy to do. There's a helper utility here called gapsourcedictionary.tt. If you run this custom tool, it will go out and find anything that you've stuck in that www folder and add it to the XML file. That basically allows you to refer to those files locally. So I've got my reference to my PubNub.js, and then I've got a self-executing JavaScript function. I'm going to initialize my PubNub instance here, set that up with my various keys, and then I've got my subscribe call, so I'm subscribing to a channel, and this will allow me to get messages to the local UI from the internet. And then basically in this case I'm just setting up a timer in JavaScript so that I can push out hello world repeatedly, just so I can show that kind of going continually. So I'm going to run this. This is going to run in the local emulator. And one of the other things that's cool about PhoneGap, if you haven't used it, is that PhoneGap also gives you the ability, and you can see I've got my hello world coming in here. If I flip over to the browser, coming over here as well. If I flip over to IE, getting messages here, and if I say hello from IE, and then flip back here, oh, not fast enough. There we go. You can see hello from Firefox showing up. So now I've got real-time chat going on from mobile to web. This is going out over the internet. This is not all hitting locally. And I have the same app running on my device. By the way, this device, this is my personal phone, but I've got it dev unlocked, so if you need a test device, just give me your zap file and I can run it there. But I run this client here and say hi. You should see that show up. There we go. So that actually tells you the device that I sent this from. That's taking advantage of PhoneGap's ability to determine hardware things on the device. So in this case, I'm just using device.name because it's a much simpler API. I don't have to do it asynchronously. But you've got access to accelerometer, to compass, to any of the hardware features on the device. Now, I will say, taking it up a level, this is a great solution if you have HTML and JavaScript skills and you want to get a mobile application out there on Windows Phone quickly. There are some downsides to it. One is you don't get the Metro look and feel that Windows Phone is based on out of the box. You would have to do some CSS work. I can help you with that. I've got some kind of starter CSS stuff. The other thing is that you don't get the kind of rich debugging in Visual Studio that you would get with Silverlight for Windows Phone natively. So that the HTML stuff in here, you're not going to be able to debug into breakpoints in your JavaScript inside Visual Studio in PhoneGap. So you're going to end up doing a whole lot of document write kind of stuff for debugging, which is not a whole lot of fun, but it works in the end. So again, I'm Andrew Duffy. If you have any questions around Windows Phone 7 development, any of the stuff I've talked about here, more than happy to help. I will be floating around probably at one end or the other. I've got Windows Phone on my sleeve, so you know what I wear on my sleeve. Thanks.